Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm joined today by my guest, James Moore of Genmar. James, how are you doing?
Very well, thanks, David. Very well, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, James, IT support, every business needs it, every agency needs it. Most importantly, I think that we as estate agency owners, we tend to deal with a lot of sensitive information. And we carry more information than we care to admit sometimes. We're dealing with the full gamut of people's lives, including their properties, their proof of funding, bank statements sometimes, mortgage details. There's just so much information that we end up holding that it would be a small nightmare, if not a massive one, if any data slips happened and there wasn't proper security around what we do. And I don't think we talk about it enough in our industry. So perhaps you can give us your insight on how important it can be for an agency owner.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's something that people don't talk about enough. It's often something that people don't want to start looking into. I think they think that as soon as you start looking into it, you're going to realize there's problems there, and it's easy just to sort of put it under the carpet and forget about it. The government actually recently released the 2021 cyber survey they do once a year. And actually, of that survey they did, they highlighted estate agencies to be one of the two biggest risks in terms of industries in the UK. The average in terms of when they surveyed companies in the UK, they said that 40% of companies have suffered some sort of cybersecurity breach in the last 12 months. And with estate agencies, that was 55%. So of the, I think it's around 1,000 companies that they surveyed, over half of them had said that they'd had some sort of cybersecurity breach in the last 12 months.
Wow.
So it's happening. It used to be that it was big companies that were affected, and the smaller companies were sort of safe because if someone was going to go out there and try and steal data, the cybersecurity, the cyber, bad actors would be out there trying to go for the big ones first.
Yeah.
Now it's so much easier for people to do it. They're going for the smaller companies as well. So yeah, that figure of 55% is actually small companies in the UK as well. So it's a big thing. They say that of those breaches, people that were affected by those breaches, the average cost to fix them, including getting consultants in and things, was around £10,000. It was around £8,500 per company. So it's happening quite frequently.
And as ever with these sort of things, prevention is the cure, really, isn't it? It's the cybersecurity insurance that you can get, but that isn't going to protect you against the possible public backlash you're going to receive if all your customers' data is compromised, because one way or another, that's going to have an effect on the reputation of your business. So you're best off doing it at the front end, and that starts with your IT, making sure that your systems are secure and that you've got somebody on your side. So talk to us about the sort of services that you offer to estate agents, and why it's so important to have that proactive approach to IT.
Yeah, definitely. So we're an IT support company is the basis of what we do. We started 25 years ago, actually, as just a PC repair shop. We're in Bishop Stortford in Hertfordshire.
Right.
And yeah, back then we were just sort of fixing people's laptops, broken screens and that kind of thing 25 years ago. And then we had a couple of small businesses in the area come to us and start asking about sort of business support and systems and things that we can offer for them. And we actually got a good relationship going with some local estate agencies at that time, about 20 or so years ago. And from then, we built this sort of offering of business IT services. We didn't plan it this way, but we've now almost predominantly worked with estate agencies. It's just because it worked through word of mouth. We did work with one estate agency. They were happy with it, so they passed on to other people, and that's just where we are now. So about 80% of the customers that we work with are estate agencies across.
And I'm presuming geographic locations don't really matter because you can cover most of the UK.
That's it, exactly. I think everyone's working remotely now. The way that IT support and IT services work these days is that even when you've got problems, 99.5% of those issues can be resolved remotely. So yeah, we do work with people all over the UK, and actually got some people now that we're doing work for them abroad as well. Yeah, and the IT support is one facet of that, which is just what people are used to in terms of when they've got a problem with their computer or their laptop, whatever it is, they've got a team of people that they can call and get some support with. But there's other aspects of that IT companies should be doing. They're not always doing, but they should be doing as well, which is, the boring stuff that doesn't get seen so much behind the scenes, which is making sure all your computers are up to date, making sure you've got antivirus on there, making sure everything's being backed up properly.
Because we have such wonderful prop tech solutions that we're using, and some of those are online solutions and rely on cloud, but you need that computer that you're operating on to just not grind to a halt, and that takes regular maintenance, doesn't it, and updates, and just making sure that your memory is not impaired. That's really going to help.
That's it. And I think when we speak to agency owners about IT and what problems they've got with it, obviously the main thing is they just want it to work, which I completely understand. Is that's when you think about IT, when you think about computers, you just want the computer you're using to function for the tasks that you want it to do, and not have to deal with issues all the time. And that's not too much to ask for. I think the way that things are set up now, especially when you're talking about prop tech and the fact that all of the software we use is in the cloud now, it can be done. You can get in a situation where you're not having constant IT headaches and issues. I think a lot of people have got to the point where they've had IT problems for so long they just start putting up with it. We do see a lot of people that are like that. We speak to them and say, that problem with my computer, I've been having that for 3 years. I've tried calling people about it, but I've just given up on it now, so I just deal with it. I think you don't have to. I think if you get the right company that's sitting in there and you've got help from them, you can get these things sorted out.
But that's part of what you do as well. So when we talk of vendor support in our industry, we're dealing with our clients. But when you talk about vendor support, those are the people that are providing software platforms and so on. And agents can spend, if they've got a particular issue with one particular vendor, let's say, they can spend time on the phone sort of trying to get through to different support services to try and solve it. I take it you guys walk in and sort of take away that need, because you've got pre-existing relationships with those vendors. You also know their IT setup and the requirements of the system.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, as I say, we've been doing IT support work now for over 50 estate agencies for the last 10 years. So we have pre-existing relationships with all of the major software companies, the prop tech companies that are providing the software for the estate agents. The first thing is that we now just have a big database of issues that we know how to fix. So when someone calls us and says, I've got this problem with this software that I'm using, we know we can just try and do X, Y, and Z on their computer for them. And we know that normally fixes that issue with that software company. So instead of them having to sit on the phone for ages speaking to a software company, they can call us and just get it fixed. But like you say, a lot of the time, that's not the case. And you do have to go and speak with a software vendor and see what's happening. And instead of you having to get on the phone with them and they try and explain something technical to you that you might not understand, we just get on the phone with them directly, get those issues resolved, and then hopefully at the end of it, just call you back and say that the issue is resolved and you're back working again.
So that sounds fantastic. If I'm an agency and every agency will have they're using tech. They're obviously got a IT. They've always got a network within the office that will need servicing. But presumably you get to the stage where at some point you know that you need a review. Is that probably the best place to start with you guys, to have a chat with you, get you in to look at what we're currently using, and to sort of give your assessment of where it can be improved?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's always the first step in any sort of client introduction step that we have with new customers. Sit with them and look at their infrastructure, look at their estate, what computers are they using, what software they're using, where are they from a security standpoint? Is everything already updated? Do they have any massive security holes that people should be aware of? And then a lot of what we do in terms of IT support is talking to people. You know, I think a huge part of what we do isn't the technical side of things. It's not always that a problem can be fixed by an update or some sort of setting that can be changed. A lot of the time it's a human problem. You know, it's something that needs to be resolved by talking to people. So a big part of
user error.
well, that's it, you know, and not even that someone's doing anything wrong. You know, it's just that speaking with people fixes so many more issues than you know, the technical side of things. I think one of the huge things we do as part of our onboarding is to sit down with not just the people that own the business, but the people that are actually using the systems day to day, and ask them, you know, do you have any problems? How's everything working? You know, do you think that everything's working as it should be? And the amount of things we find from there that we can then, you know, implement, because you might find that there's a solution that we can implement to make things faster or better or more secure, that we would never even thought of doing if we hadn't sat down and spoken with you and worked actually how you work, you know. But that initial audit that we do is key. I think a lot of what we do is proactive IT support and proactive planning in terms of strategy for your IT. So instead of just being reactive and waiting for problems to happen and then fixing them, it's a case of audit everything, find the problems that you have if you've got any, work out a plan to then fix those issues, which is good for a few reasons. I mean, one, it's that we know what we're doing, so we can put a plan in for any steps that need to happen in the future. You've then got a budget. So one small thing as part of that is computers. They need to be replaced. Most people have got about a 5-year lifespan on computers when they start to get old.
Heavy usage, don't they, really? Yeah.
And then what you don't want is you bought all your computers at the same time, and then 5 years later, out of the blue, you get an invoice through and say, oh, all your computers are old now, you need I don't know, 30 new computers.
Yeah.
Most people, I mean, I run a business, I know that I'd want to know that some months or a year before, so I can start budgeting for that, and I'm prepared for those changes. And it's like that with everything. You know, you've got networking hardware, servers, computers, everything. So you want to be able to plan for all of that 12 months ahead. And
I can tell you from my own bitter experience that when a server decides to give up the ghost, or the hard disk is going to go, you need to be prepared for that. And I think my advice to any agency owners watching this would be that you cannot afford to take a lax approach to your IT, and you need to be proactive with it, because I think that data breaches are huge public liability concerns, and in terms of compliance, an absolute nightmare. But most importantly, because we are so tech reliant these days, downtime can kill a business. So, you know, if you've got your systems offline because, you know, you've had a server die or whatever it may be, but you have no backup and you have no real plan of how to get back on the road again, then you're going to wish that you spoke to somebody like James and the team at Genmar. So I highly recommend having a chat with them. They're very approachable and seem to really know their stuff. James, thank you very much for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
No problem.